It's great to be back in Pinellas County. I want to recognize the folks here from our brewery community. We have Matthew Dom from Masteries Brewing Company, Mike Harding, Three Daughters Brewing, Chris Johnson, Green Bench, Nathan Stonecipher, Green Bench, LJ Gavoni, Big Storm Brewing Company, and Pete Bolin, the Galley, St. Pete Tavern. So thank you all for being here. We wanted to have a roundtable discussion about the industry, about the challenges, which have been many that you guys have faced, and then obviously, what's the road back, so that folks, not only business-wise, employees, but also just giving our citizens the ability to have some enjoyment in their life. I mean, it's been a long 6 months almost, and I know people really yearn to have a sense of normalcy. Now, if you look at the jobs that Florida's lost since the pandemic hit, a huge proportion of that is in things like leisure and hospitality. And so that obviously, we had losses initially at theme parks, hotels, restaurants, but when you look at breweries, you guys obviously were hit very, very hard. Those are folks that you employ who are working hard and who need to have the ability to earn a living. So we're very sensitive to that. We have been adding private sector jobs even in July with the pandemic kind of at its apex here, certainly in terms of the kind of the fear and stuff that was in the air. People still continued to add jobs, and I think that if you look at the revenue coming in August, we've definitely seen an increase in the state of Florida from where we were. So we want to keep that momentum going. It's not going to be easy, but I know that we'll be able to do it. I also think it's important to point out that if you look at where we are today in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've had the number of people who are COVID positive and hospitalized declined by almost 63% since the peak in July. The number of people hospitalized in the ICU down almost 57% since the peak in July. The number of new hospital admissions have declined by nearly 70% daily since their peak. And I think if you look, our discharges typically outnumber our admissions. I can tell you that was not the case at the end of June, beginning of July. The number of individuals showing up to the ED with COVID-like illness has declined by around 75% from the early June highs. And all these trends you see across our different regions, across our different metro areas. If you look at Pinellas County, COVID positive hospitalizations are down here by over 72%. And I know we've seen a lot of problems with these tests and these reports, and I would caution that's not the best barometer. At the same time, Pinellas over 20 days has been below 5% in terms of the number of tests that come back positive. So it's not something I would hang my hat and say a kid can't go to school if there's this or that. But at the same time, when you have 20 days and you see that, that is a pretty consistent pattern, and that's for a county that has 1 million people. That's pretty good. How many of those are even contagious with this? We don't know. How many of them have live virus? Is that dead RNA? We're seeing the limitations of these PCR tests every single day. They did a study of New York, Massachusetts, and Nevada, was in actually the New York Times, and they found 90% of the positive test results that people didn't have enough virus to be contagious. And then these are people that are being quarantined. So this testing, these cases, and the way the technology is, has been problematic. But I think the hospitalization decline here has been dramatic. Hillsborough, the same thing, over 71% decline in COVID positive hospitalizations. Miami-Dade, huge declines from where they were. They were the most severe outbreak in the state of Florida, but you're seeing Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. Today we're moving Palm Beach into phase 2, and they've done very, very well. I mean, they're probably not quite as low as Pinellas, but they're pretty close in terms of what we've seen throughout the state. So that's really good. Orange County hospitalizations down 73%, and you can kind of go on down the line. And so that's been really strong momentum, and we believe it's going to continue. And the fight is not going to be over on this. I mean, that's just not the way these things work. You don't have a virus that just all of a sudden disappears. It's better to have the prevalence lower like it is today than where we were at the end of June, but it's going to be something that's going to still be there. It's going to be a factor. We obviously have at-risk groups that we're going to really focus on. At the same time, we've got to get all facets of society operating. We've obviously done a lot over the last couple months. I know that the K through 12 opening, a lot of the parents have chosen to go in person with the instruction. We believe giving them that choice was very, very important, and I think you've seen people be satisfied with that. And so now we're saying, okay, if you're in business in the state of Florida, we want you to be successful. We want people to be able to go to work, and so that's why we wanted to be here. So I think what we can do, why don't we start with Pete and just kind of go down the line. You guys kind of tell us, about yourself, about your place, about the challenges, and any other comments you think are pertinent.
Thanks for putting this together, Hallie, and Governor. I'm owner-operator of the Galley at St. Pete Tavern and also Mary Margaret's Old Irish Tavern. We've been fortunate to be able to be open serving food in the restaurants. We definitely got hit pretty hard with the virus here back in June. I had many staffers that ended up testing positive, but we were able to move forward with it. Nobody was severely ill. Nobody was hospitalized. We've been able to create a lot of confidence with our guests. We've been a part of the community. We've been promoting live music as best we can. We've been offering complimentary meals for hospitality folks and musicians alike. We're trying to offer value meals and do everything we can to kind of help respond to people with their struggles around here. And we've done more to create guest confidence. We've added Remy Halo air scrubbers into our establishment to try to purify the air and eliminate some of the transmittive airborne risk. And we just want some certainty going forward here. I think for us, there hasn't been new rule changes in the last 8 weeks. So for us, that's pretty good. That can create some confidence for us moving forward and doing what we have to do. It's been a very trying time, but those that have been agile and have been able to operate with some dexterity, we've been very fortunate, and we just want to create some more guest confidence and know that it's still okay to have a good time. It's still okay to go out to eat. You probably have a greater risk driving to the restaurant than you do at dining at the restaurant. So, I think people need to mitigate and take care of themselves. And I was with a close friend last night who's 69 years old. He's got to be cautious. He's a cancer survivor. He's got to be cautious. So I think, individual responsibility needs to kind of rule the day. I think we're seeing that, there has been some real struggle and some real pain for families and communities around here, but we got to get back to work around here. We've got to let people know that it's okay. Life does have some inherent risk, but we're going to do the best we can to create a safe environment for our guests and try to show people a good time, give them a reason to smile in this crazy year.
LJ?
Yep, LJ Aboni with Big Storm Brewery. I think we have a really unique perspective because we've had locations that have closed and we have locations that have stayed open. And as we look forward to getting back to opening as we've had in the past, we've made changes with our expansion. We had a 3,500 square foot expansion in front of our brewery, and it was all going to be indoor and air conditioning. We've actually ripped the walls off, and now it's outdoors. It's seated, covered space. You're not in the sun. But again, just instilling that confidence is what we wanted to do to our customers, right? And we think uniquely as everyone in hospitality, understands the rules and regs that they have to follow by, but uniquely for brewers in our situation, most of our day is spent cleaning and sanitizing. And so I think we really, really understand, again, how to instill confidence. It's really no different than brewing any particular beer and having that consumer know that beer is high quality, safe to drink, can's not going to explode on you. Really similar properties, right? So for us, we think leaving the consumer, to make the decision of are they safe or not to come into our establishment or any of our peers' establishments is essential. We fear for some of the smaller groups that aren't represented here today that they've got weeks left until there's just no more payroll anymore. PPP money went only so far, and really we're at an imperative point for this industry to at least have the opportunity to fight for our life. So, big show to Mike.
Mike.
My name is Mike Harding from Three Daughters Brewing. I think that that health is always first in what has become the past 6 months. But as we tackle that crisis, we really have to recognize the economic impact of this, and that is why I greatly appreciate the governor and the secretary being here today. Our story is much like every story for businesses in the state of Florida. In March, we have 62 employees, and by the end of March, we had 4 employees. And we were able to, with some government assistance and PPP money, put some people back on the payroll. But that's not a lasting model. And as we find a way to both conquer and live with what is the health environment, we need to be extremely concerned about the economic environment, and we have to put people back to work. And this industry, as we opened other industries, this industry is uniquely qualified and has been uniquely qualified in that the licensing that we have with both the feds and with the state come with caveats that don't exist in other industries and oversight. And so the Secretary's Department of, under the DBPR, the Division of Hotels and Restaurants, which we're all licensed through, has the Department of Health, has the Health Department. And the Health Department has its own industry that is built around it. And so our employees, in order to work in our industry, have to go through testing and training that really lend itself to what this was before it even started. And so I think that there is a level of confidence that the governor has in our industry, that we're ready to do this, and it's time for us to move forward. It is time for us to do 2 things. One, it's time for us to put all of our employees back to work. This has to start rolling again. And the other is that it's time for us to offer that piece of what we are, the hospitality industry. We need the citizens of Florida to have a place to go to kick back, relax, and try and deal with what this new normal looks like. So I'm very excited about the Secretary and the Governor being here today, and I think that we can do this both safely and quickly.
Matthew?
Yeah, so Matthew Dom, Masteries Brewing Company. Masteries is a little bit more unique in the fact that we sit in a coastal town. So we're out on St. Pete Beach, and as all can imagine, the life became very different in a Gulf Coast type town, more specifically up from thinking of the St. Pete Beach all the way up to Clearwater Beach. I have a little bit more unique perspective on the matter, as I also sit as the incoming chair for the board of directors for the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber. So I've spent a lot of time between March and now, not only advocating for my own business, but advocating for a lot of other business sets as well. So to say that the hospitality industry has taken a hard, horrible hit is still taking it very lightly. When they closed down Pinellas County beaches, I mean, yeah, there is some residential out there, but it became ghost towns for all businesses. So the amount of impact that we had in a large tourist-driven area, it's going to take a very long time for it to come back. But the good news is there are a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, some majority of the businesses up and down the Gulf Coast area are independently owned small businesses with a great, strong mindset of individuals with a lot of entrepreneurship type spirit who are ready to get back to work, who are doing it right, who are doing things what's right and safe for their customers and for their staff. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity here to speak about it and to have the governor here and looking at getting things back open to give everybody that opportunity again to reignite their fire, get back to business, find new ways, in the innovation that's going to come from this. But yes, I mean, come March, I mean, we've gone through from being closed to go only to being closed again to being able to have limited operations under a 509 license and operate as a restaurant. And even with that, because of, again, being in the town that we're in and the lack of tourism that's come to the state because of this, it's still going to be a long fighting uphill battle. But I do believe that the strength is there in the businesses. We just need the opportunity to get back to work, show what we can do.
Thanks. And it should be said, closing beaches is not an evidence-based decision. I mean, there was a huge hysteria about this in March. We've had a number of places never closed them. I was just in Daytona Beach. And actually, their hospitality is down less than many of the other places that did it. It was not evidence-based. It was hysteria-based to do it. We never did that statewide in Florida. We gave communities the options to keep them running. And in the places that did that had no discernible difference on the epidemic. And in fact, some of them probably have even less. I mean, it was just, but that is what we have to do. We have to focus on evidence-based and not do things like that. So that was something that we shouldn't repeat. It is not a driver of a respiratory virus when you're on a sandy beach with sun beating down on you in 90-degree weather. That's just the reality. And so I think going forward, I think people have understood that a little bit better, hopefully. Nathan?
My name is Nathan Stonecipher. I'm with Green Bench Brewing Company. Chris here is my business partner. We were closed for 124 days this year. That's a long time. We have made the best of it. Unfortunately, like everyone sitting at this table, we had to lay off quite a few staff members over that time. We built this brewery to connect with our community, to add something different to our community, and to interact and allow people a place to get together with family and friends. That's something we want to see back here. We think that we can do it in a safe way. Health and safety is obviously number one for everyone right now in the state of Florida, but there's no reason that the rest of the hospitality industries in our state can't get on a path to open up. We want to do this before tourist season starts up again. We think it's important, especially for the employees that we have here and for those that we want to bring back. But it's time. We can do it the right way. We have plenty of space. We've made the investment. We have the infrastructure to keep everyone safe and healthy here. And like Matt said down there, we're ready to get back to work.
All right. Chris?
Thank you guys so much for being here. As Nate said, we're here at Green Bench Brewing Company. This is our second concept, Web City, which we opened about a year and a half ago. Actually, right at about the year anniversary of our second concept, we had to shut down, obviously, because of the pandemic. 2020's been hard on everybody. Obviously, it's put everyone through the ringer, whether it's, personally trying to figure out as a parent if my kid's going to go back to school or work from, or do school virtually at home. Whether it be as a business owner having to lay off staff members who have basically become family, and or trying to make sure that our family is safe throughout the pandemic itself. The country itself has been obviously really sort of divided on how to move forward on a lot of things, and I think after several months of being able to sort of stew on that and not really have that normalcy or that connection or that ability to actually have these conversations with each other, Green Bench's name itself was decided upon to build to be a place where we can build on our past and then move forward into a future that we all really want to see for our children and what kind of society that we want. We're excited about the fact that we've been able to open in the last couple of weeks by becoming a restaurant, which was something that we were able to do with the DBPR, and we're really excited about the future of being able to open again because, as Nate said, we do believe and we know that we can provide a safe environment for our customers because, again, we're citizens of this community as well, and the only thing we want to do is see it thrive. So by given the opportunity really to us to be able to make those decisions and be responsible for ourselves and for our staff and for our friends and family and community, that's really all we can ask for.
Secretary?
Governor, thank you. I want to thank you for your leadership being here, for these guys right here. And gentlemen, thank you all for being here today and being part of a positive conversation. This is a direct result of what we talked about. And the governor, you see, he's willing, he wants to move forward. Nathan, I want to thank you and Chris for hosting us again for getting down here. And everyone recognizes the importance, not just of the hospitality industry, the alcohol industry as well. It's the barrier to entry for most people for their first job. This touches a lot of people in a lot of different ways. The people you employ, the families that touches, the communities that you affect are all things that we have to get back on track. And so you heard him. I'm thankful for his leadership. I appreciate you guys being part of the solution moving forward rather than talk about things that have happened behind us. We're here to help you know that. We've said that all along. And Governor, just appreciate the opportunity to be here with them, and we're going to continue to fight, sir.
Great. Senator Brandis here. Just want to recognize him and thank him for his great work in the Senate and worked on a lot of great issues with him. I do think it's important too, just, and some of you have mentioned it, but yeah, obviously you guys are in business. You have families to feed yourself. You have employees who need to be, and that's very important. But you also provide a venue for people to just kind of engage in normal social interaction. And we've been doing the social distancing. It was 15 days to slow the spread. Okay, if we just buckle down for 15 days, we'll slow it. Our hospitals will be able to cope. Then it was, well, no, we need 30 days to slow the spread. Okay, so then people did that. And then it became, I think, like somehow it flipped to where slow the spread to protect hospitals to like we could never have another case again, so therefore people can't do. It's like you got to prove, that you have the right to be. And so it's really, I think, turned into something that was not how it was sold originally to the country. And I just worry that when we talk about things like, like the social distancing, all this stuff, it's like, okay, doing that, how long of a period of time is that natural for people to do? What are the effects of not having people have, more traditional interactions? No one talks about that. No one knows that because it's never been tried at this level in the United States before like this. And so to the extent people are going in and being able to, engage in safe behavior, but behavior where they're able to, maybe unwind a little bit, that ain't the worst thing in the world, given how stressful the last 6 months have been. What would you say about terms of how's the restaurant thing happened? How's the traffic been? Did the traffic go down at the end of June and July because of the COVID increases? And then as the numbers have gone down, have people come out more?
The last 6 weeks, there's definitely some more confidence, especially here in downtown St. Pete. May was really a unique circumstance because we benefited from the scarcity. We were able to be open with the restrictions on some of the other bars and venues and restaurants. June was kind of very normal. End of June was pretty difficult after we did our voluntary closure. And in July, it was kind of slowly tick. You've seen just a creation of confidence, and as more people have gotten their food licenses, more people are out, more pedestrians are out. And what we're also seeing is lots of folks fleeing from places like California, New York, Illinois. They're coming here to visit here in Florida because we've got some semblance of freedom left over here. And that's credit to some of the courage from the governor's office, I think. It's been better, and it seems like it's getting better each and every week. And like I said before, having some consistency of rules and regulations. There was no new Pinellas County orders since basically the middle of June. So that's created some confidence for us to be able to go forward, make some small tweaks and investments here, and we've been able to follow the rules and create confidence for the guests to come in. We're following all the guidelines, and we're participating in this theater of wearing the mask until you sit down at your chair at the restaurant. That somehow you're safe when you sit down. I think there has been
Don't question that science.
I think there has been some more confidence, and we're seeing it more. And we're expecting a big Labor Day weekend for us, and we've got some people coming in from out of town again, and we're very much looking forward.
I think it's an important point, though. It's like, we have had breweries and stuff operating the whole time, even as the numbers have come down with the food option. And it seems like you guys have done a really good job with that.
We definitely have had an increase in the delivery sales. There's still a lot of people that are uncomfortable going out, and they have to make those choices for their own personal safety. And I think that's been a very important thing to note, that people should be responsible and can make good choices for themselves.
So you said some are open, some are not.
Yeah, so
can you
our
explain
location
how
in
that's
Cape
gone?
Coral is not open because we don't have food there.
Yeah.
But our Pasco and Pinellas locations have full service food licenses, and they've had prior to COVID. And so, it's been interesting. You asked a question of a dip or a drop or what happened with traffic. Really, I put squarely on confidence, right? So when Pinellas County first mandated masks, I think a lot of people just said, I'm not going out if I have to do that. And I think when they did go out, they felt uncomfortable. And now I think as people feel like maybe it's like nuisance, but it's the inconvenience of to not being able to go out at all, they've come back out. So slowly we're seeing traffic come back. But it goes back to the same word everyone keeps using, right? Is confidence and consistency. I think as more people have positive experiences at establishments like ours or Mike's or anyone else's, that's just going to get them having more positive and good experiences.
Great. Mike, what do you like going forward? What do you need to see happen to be able to, to be successful?
I think that in the end the consumers really decided this, and so we came out with these ideas of 25% occupancy, 50% occupancy. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter, because the consumer is way ahead of what it is that we have all decided. And to Pete's point and LJ's point, that there is anecdotally, it seems like in talking to the members of our guild and the other breweries, that our brewery is working, our tasting room is working in that same direction, and that confidence is clearly starting to build. So we started out down 75% in the middle of all of this. We're down less than half now. So that confidence is definitely coming back in the consumer, and I don't think I don't see that abating. I see that continuing. The traffic that we've gotten just in the past 7 days is better than what we've seen really in the past 3 months, and that's across the board for us. I'm trying to think of anything that to LJ's point, it seems like there is a confidence in the consumers, and those decisions are really being made on the individual level of what my personal risk level is and what I can tolerate, and those of us that are pushing towards mainstream are really starting to go back out, and I think that I like the direction we're headed in, and appreciate the timeliness of this.
The tourism, like the beach, has that started to increase in the last few weeks? Because we've had some areas of Florida that have had really strong, like the Panhandle. They've had people like the whole time. I mean, it's just been really good for them, even under the circumstances. Others, South Florida, they're down. Obviously, it was, as you mentioned, it was a ghost town when the beach was closed, but the beach's been open for a while. What's the traffic like now?
So as even Pete mentioned, I mean, we are seeing more out-of-towners in times of year that we probably would not have seen. So definitely notice, and again, this ID checking all the time, so we get to see all the fun driver's licenses from throughout the country. Definitely noticing a pickup, and the overall ratio of really locals to out-of-towners. I mean, the ratio really is drastically increasing to having more out-of-town visits and first-time customers than we had seen before. And I think that it goes a little bit back to the confidence, and many of them coming from states that had a much higher binding regulation area, and they're looking for some relief. And when breweries on a whole have been about the experience, the camaraderie, the social experiences that we bring, and the type of atmospheres that we have, the conversations you have with one of our awesome beer tenders, just to talk about, again, the types of beers we make, how we make them, and just that interaction. Again, going back to confidence, I think the hardest part for us locally was the lack of consistency across the board in the conversation. And again, just in Pinellas County, how many individual cities that makes up, when we have a lot of different, jurisdictions within that. And, you drive a mile down the road, you're in a different jurisdiction, and getting when you have a consumer who comes to a brewery for that social relief or to relax and to have that camaraderie, and you can tell the frustration on their side that they used to have, where every visit to every different brewery was a little bit of a different experience, and it wasn't relaxing for them. It wasn't what craft beer was. It meant to them.
Can you talk? So you guys, you were not doing food, and then you started doing it how long ago, and how's that done?
We just started 2 weeks ago. As we were watching how this was kind of playing out, the first 2 weekends have been good. Obviously, nowhere near what it used to be for us, but that's okay. We'll baby step it until we get there. Our job is to make the customer feel safe. We take that role very seriously. Like everyone here has mentioned, a lot of it comes down to what an individual is comfortable with. But we're going to make them as safe as possible while they're here, while they're on our property. We want to welcome them in. And right now, we're only doing outdoor seating with everyone spread out to make sure that that's helping to make people feel comfortable. But the hope is that we can start opening up inside and start normalizing and start getting a few more people in the doors so that we can build back. We never wanted to be in a position where we needed help from the state government or the federal government or our local government. We're here to work. We're entrepreneurs. We're all type A personalities. We're go-getters, and whatever that takes in this environment, we'll do. And we're willing to roll our sleeves up and do that. We're ready.
Yeah, I mean, the service that we try to provide is an experience for our customers. We want to provide a place where, again, they can either communicate or just experience something whether it be products or environment that they can't really get anywhere else. And that's honestly what we get up every day to do. We want to provide an experience to our customers and provide a place, especially, being here in St. Petersburg, where people travel here. They want to come and try to experience something they can't get elsewhere. So it's been disheartening and difficult to not be able to do, frankly, what we get out of bed to do every morning. As Nate said, we're going to do everything we possibly can to provide a safe environment so that people of any sort of mindset are going to feel safe, right? Whether it's making sure you have to wear a mask, making sure there's distance between yourself and your customers, making sure that you're provided a place where you feel comfortable going out and experiencing something that otherwise you frankly just can't do in your home. You can't really do anywhere else.
Any other, one, and just in terms of the support, I think when the government is saying, you need to close, and I think the theory was having the PPP would say, okay, you're going to be, closed for 15 days maybe, or who knows, maybe 30, but then that would be enough and you kind of go. But it's like, this has gone on a lot longer than I think was initially anticipated. And so that program, while well-intentioned, is just not enough to do a 6-month, time span. So, as we get more, obviously we have, our own budget issues we have to deal with. We're looking at, we're going to obligate all this CARES Act money. I think we'll be fine on this fiscal year. We may get a phase 4 where states are getting some more assistance. I think some of that, if that does happen, you look to see, okay, economic support if needed for those specific businesses that were actually affected by direct government policy. It's one thing to say, there's not as many people coming for this or that. It's hard for us to necessarily, deal with that in terms of like, okay, well, there would have been this many. But it's like, if you cannot actually sell people your product, it's not like that's a bad business decision. You're not doing anything wrong. So it's not the same as people not running a good business and then asking to kind of get bailed out. These are people that were told they can't ply their trade effectively, and it's a much different situation. Any other parting shots?
No.
I think people need to, the people that are concerned about the virus need to make efforts to improve their own health and their own lifestyle. I think that's going to be a big part of it. It's about getting vitamin D and, lose some weight, eat some vegetables. The governor's open the gyms up, sign up for the gym, and I like your odds in that circumstance. But we're just happy to have some sports back. We're happy to see some of the confidence and see the smiles of our guests coming through. And we're going to take care of them safely like we did before, and we're going to do it going forward.
There's a new vitamin D study I haven't had to look through, but it purports to show a decline in ICU hospitalizations that people had significant vitamin D. So we'll have to see. So okay, happy to take some cues. Yes, ma'am.
Hey there, Christine McCarty with NBC Channel 8. Governor, we've all heard how bars and breweries have been hit really hard. So what financial help is the state willing to offer to help the bars, breweries, and their employees?
Well, I think as I had mentioned at the close of my remarks, we're going to look to see what this phase 4 does. We have done bridge loans. I think there have been some of these businesses that have done that at the state. Of course, that's a limited amount of money that we have. They obviously had access to PPP funding. But if there is a phase 4, or if we have leftover CARES Act, if we're going to do small business relief, I would focus it on the businesses who were the most directly affected by government policy, because I think that's fair. If the government's telling you can't do this, how are you going to be able to make it work? And so we would look at that and we'll see how. But I think the short-term thing is, let's figure out a way to get them on their feet safely, make sure that this is something that that folks in the community have confidence in, and then really, I think, no turning back. This is, we've got to get it right, and it's got to stick. Yes, sir.
Your decision to close the bars and breweries, or was it Secretary Bashir's? And will it be your decision to open it again, or Secretary Bashir's?
Well, it's going to be my decision to open it, absolutely. What Secretary Bashir's was trying to do was trying to police because the restrictions were basically operate like a restaurant. And that's not the business model for a lot of these places. And I mean, you just had, like, so he was getting inundated with stuff, and there was just no way to be able to play like a whack-a-mole. So, they did the pause, all right, let's just get through here, which I think was reasonable. But I've told him I want every business in Florida operating. And we pretty much have 99%. You guys are kind of the last ones. Everyone else is up and running. Not everyone is at totally full. I mean, the theme parks we were at last week, they obviously have they're working their way back. People are having more confidence. All these other things, but people have to be able to go in business. It's one thing to say, we may need you to do some of these things for safety and health. I think all you guys would be willing to do it. But it's another thing to say no. Just there's no path to yes. So we'll get to yes. And so he'll probably be an order from him laying out. But I've told him, and he's been really, he wants to do it too. He's been working with them, talking with them for weeks. But I told him we really want to get, to yes. So we're working hard on it, and we appreciate this. This was good. We had a great chat in the other room, and then being able to come out here and seeing this is important.
Is there a timeline for that? Is there certain restrictions that you would put in place for certain types of establishments, nightclubs, places that stay open until 2 a.m. or later?
So those are things that I think we've discussed. We're going to consider. It's not out of the question. I would say some of this is like, when you try to do like a rigid thing, they all have different business models, and they kind of know. So we've had some certain things suggested about different times and this and that. I'm not sure the virus is more transmittable at 1 a.m. than it is at 11 p.m. But I guess the theory is maybe people let loose a little bit more. But I think another thing we also have to just acknowledge with the experience we just saw, people were doing the same stuff that they would have done here that people were concerned about with outbreak. They were doing in private residences by and large. Actually, you have people renting out like big storage areas and then doing different things. So that stuff is going on. South Florida, for sure, it was going on. And so in some respects, you guys being here is in some ways may even be a safer environment depending on where they're at, because some of this stuff is totally unregulated. You guys are regulated. So we'll see how it goes. But I think at the end of the day, one of the things that I think was mentioned about some of the different rules, my view on all this is like, look, we have a big diverse state. Miami was just going to deal with it differently than Pensacola. So I was not going to impose Miami's model on the Panhandle. And so we had some basic things, of course we did, but then we wanted the locals to be able to do a flavor on it. At the same time, I do think the businesses need certainty. So when we go forward, you're going to be able to do this. And if the locals want to put a little gloss on it here or there, that's one thing. But to say that, they can just roll you back or something, I think we probably need to get to a point where people have certainty. We know this is where we're going to go. We know what we got to do, and then we can move forward from there. Yes, ma'am.
What do you have to say to the smaller bars? You've heard them say some of these bars only have weeks left to hold on.
That's why we're here. Yeah, no, we understand the urgency. That's why we're doing it. We'll be coming up on 6 months in a couple weeks when we started the 15 days to slow the spread. And the 15 days basically called on states to, if you have once you see the spread in the community, do the gyms, bars, restaurants, and non-elective surgeries in hospitals. So we did that. Actually, this time people say close gyms. I didn't do it because I don't think it worked. Quite frankly, I think people go into the gym. This is good when you're dealing with the respiratory virus that has a disproportionate impact on people that have comorbidities. And we didn't do the non-elective. We kept elective procedures. We told the hospitals, you guys manage your census. So you have a place like Miami-Dade, Jackson, very high traffic when the COVID was really surging. They dialed back and they figured out. You had some of the Central Florida ones, Orlando Health, some of those. They never had to do that. They kind of did it. So those, we didn't repeat that. And obviously the restaurants, we kept no problem this time. The bars was the one thing. And I think that of all those areas, they've had it the roughest. There's no doubt about it. And so we'll come up on 6 months. Now, obviously, they have had to operate with food. Some of them have been able to do that, which we wanted to do it. But many of them haven't had that option. And that's just the reality. So we're in a situation here where I don't think you can just say no end in sight, infinitum. You're just going to have to kind of make do and hope that you come out, months down the road. And so that's why we're here. We really want to get to yes on this.
Governor, do you think the Bucks made the right call by not having fans for their games?
So I've been very supportive of the organization to go forward with fans if they wanted to. We've worked with Steve Ross and the Miami Dolphins. I think they have a great plan. I've been in contact with the Jacksonville Jaguars as well as our universities about having this, and you can do it. We just had the Daytona Speedway. They had almost 30,000 people. Now that seats a lot, so they are spread out with 30,000, but it works. And so I told the Bucks, whatever support you want from me, you will have it to be able to do it. Ultimately, they have to make their own decisions. I've also reminded people this. As much as I've given locals the ability to have their say on all this stuff, the one thing I preempted right off the bat was professional sports. If people want to operate, they come to me and we will let them operate. And so if there's any type of issue with any type of local, and fortunately the locals have been great. Jacksonville, great. Miami, great. They've been great. So it hasn't necessarily been, but I would just remind folks, any of these professional sports, we got the NBA to come here. We got a lot of these things. And again, those local jurisdictions were supportive, but we stand ready to help on that. And I really want to be able to show that Tampa is going to be a great place to host a Super Bowl. Now, obviously, look, if the Bucks had fans, I would try to go to the first home game. I would. I am not going to go if other fans are not allowed. I think that's totally not when you have like one person or whatever get to watch and no one else does. So I'm not going to go until we have fans for others. But I think showing that this community is ready to host a great Super Bowl, having some fans there, I think would been a good first step. Now it's not where we need to be. It doesn't mean you can't get there, but I think a lot of fans here wanted to be in the games. And certainly there's a lot of excitement. I think they sold when they signed Tom Brady. I think they sold out very quickly. This is a hot ticket. You have a lot of great players. They just got Leonard Fournette, I think, right? And then you have a Gronk. This is really exciting, and it's unfortunate that the fans can't be there for it. But I was supportive if they wanted to do it. Yes, sir.
Governor Josh Norwood, Spectrum Media. Can you tell us about the logic behind the food license loophole? Bar owners complain to me they say it's more about public perception than science-based. Is that true?
Well, I think if Halsey wants to take it. Look, I think that what we tried to do initially was say, from an evidence-based perspective, there is no difference if you sitting down having a meal or you sitting down and drinking a pint. It's just not. And so we wanted to treat them all equally. We had some problems with kind of that enforcement on that, and I think that's what kind of did. So I think what Halsey tried to do on this is just provide a way kind of back to where they'd be able to do it consistent with how everyone else is operating around the state, and kind of give that lifeline. So there's no difference from an evidence-based perspective when everyone's following the guidelines, and that's why they did the guidelines. I think that there were examples in like the middle or late June where, you had really big gatherings, and then you did have some outbreaks. Now, it wasn't, we were going to have these outbreaks. This was sweeping the Sun Belt, so I don't blame them for that, but I do think that there's a difference between how restaurants have operated, how the bars were initially slated to operate, and how some of them chose to do. So that's, I think, why he did it. Correct.
Governor, you cut ties with West. Earlier this week, you said the state had better success with Upstart Labs. If there's a surge this fall, specifically, what labs can take the place of West in your opinion?
Well, I think we know. So the Department of Health will actually publish all the labs that have gotten tests. So you can actually look at them. So if you compare 2 months ago to where now, you have some labs that have now done over 1 million tests for us just in the last 2 months. And so that's a good thing to be able to do. But I think that at some point, people need to be held accountable. We have labs that will do 50 positives and not put any negatives in. Okay, well, guess what? If the school system, in Hillsborough is using that, and you have 500 negatives that you're not putting, and they're going to say, well, the percent positive is a little too high